Okay, what a chaotic day one of the NFL draft.
Oh boy.
And we love it. We can't wait for the rest.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing today is giving you winners and losers from round one of the 2023 NFL draft.
That's right.
This is for dynasty football purposes. Some may be obvious, some maybe you haven't thought about. We want to shed some light on some winners and losers here. Do us a favor. Smash that like button. Help us get to that like goal of 100 likes on today's video.
Come on, baby.
Comment down below your biggest winner and loser. Subscribe if you like Dynasty content. And lastly, if you want to dominate your rookie drafts, you want updated rankings, Dynasty rookie rankings, startup rankings, one quarterback,
That's right.
Superflex, etc., then go ahead and use our code LAND, LAND, when signing up on flockfantasy.com. You'll get our rankings and a bunch of exclusives. Okay, we're going to give you 2 winners each, 2 losers each.
Yep.
Okay, I'll go first. My first winner of the draft. How about Geno Smith? I think Geno Smith is a big winner today after round 1. Before the draft, I had him as my quarterback 23. There was some concern. There was a lot of smoke, Badake, out of Seattle, or clearly it wasn't out of Seattle, but on social media, swirling around, that they could be drafting a quarterback, if not at 5, maybe Hendon Hooker at 20. Will Levis fell to 20. They didn't flinch. He is now my quarterback 21 in Dynasty after day 1. Firstly, he was already an underrated fantasy performer, someone who is not getting the kind of respect that he deserves. 32 years old, just got the long-term contract from the team. And check this out. Last year, Geno Smith in 2022 finished as a quarterback 5 in fantasy football. He was a quarterback 10 in points per game at 18.5. That's in a 4-point passing touchdown league. He had the number 1 completion percentage of all quarterback starters at 69.8%. Joe Burrow right behind him. He was 8th in passing yards. He was 4th in passing touchdowns with 30. And if you look at big time throw percentage amongst starters in the NFL, he was 4th behind Aaron Rodgers at 5.4%. So much disrespect has been on his name. And guess what? Not only did they not draft a quarterback and put those rumors to rest, they added someone to help him, my wide receiver 1, in Jackson Smith in Jigba. So not only does this help him in the interim and the immediate, right? The immediate help that you get from JSN, but also long term. Tyler Lockett, currently 31 years old or soon to be 31. He has an out after 2024. Who knows what happens, but now you've got a young DK Metcalf on the books. You have a young, what I believe to be elite wide receiver prospect out of the slot. You can put him in different areas on the field. In JSN, you have Tyler Lockett, Ken Walker's in the backfield, and Noah Fant is just a wild card at this point. So there's a very good chance I think Geno Smith could walk into another top 10 fantasy season in 2023. And if you are a competing dynasty team, you should go buy him right now.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Geno is definitely, I love the JSN, love the Geno Smith. Let's see what happens with DK. That's my most interesting person here out of everyone here.
Do you think he's negatively impacted?
I don't know. I kind of have this weird feeling. Obviously, it's really early in the draft. But I have this feeling. But I love Geno Smith, love JSN, love everything he can do and what's going to be happening. My first winner on my list, I think this one's pretty obvious. It's Anthony Richardson, AR-15, going to the Indianapolis Colts with the 4th overall pick. And he skyrockets, right? I question the whole time leading up, okay, what is actually going to be happening? Who and where he's going to be going now in my rankings. But before the NFL draft, he was my QB 14. He was going after, I was like, okay, maybe he's going around the Daniel Jones, Tua area. Now he's my QB 11. Now, we were talking about this on the live stream now. I think he should even go higher. I think he can even get even higher for me. I think he's going around early 2nd round in your dynasty startups at the 102. From the 102, early 2nd round of your dynasty startups from like the 201 to maybe the 204, depending on how you really feel. And then your rookie drafts, he can go as high as the 102 in a Superflex rookie draft to the 104 there. So look, I think what's really exciting here is the history behind it, right? Shane Steichen and what he's bringing to this team and how this team is going to be developing this quarterback, and what we saw with Jalen Hurts and how that was kind of coming into fruition here. I think that is something really, really special for Anthony Richardson. And, you know, we talk about everything that's happening. He had crazy NFL combine, records. I mean, the RSA, he scored 10 out of 10. He was first out of all quarterbacks in the history of RSA here.
Yeah.
And he's number one. I think there's no doubt he's here. He's going to be an absolute monster. And look, we have to think about once again the history. Peyton Manning coming in, Andrew Luck is here as well. The foundation is solid as well. Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, now who I said you guys should be buying about 3 days ago now, 3 to 4 days ago, which might be a little bit too late. Alec Pierce, Jelani Woods with a good offensive line is going to be continue to improving. There's no doubt. I mean, Zach has been saying it for a while. 1,000 yards in his rookie year. 100% without a doubt, especially with this offense, the way that we've seen Shane and Jalen Hurts this past year, I can 100% absolutely see that coming in to Anthony Richardson's rookie year, and I'm really excited. This is no doubt the biggest winner one of my biggest winners here is Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis Colts.
I'm 100% on board with you. 1,000 rushing yards if he starts every game it's probably going to happen. Like, it's not even like, oh, that'd be awesome. It's probably going to happen if he starts all 17 games as a rookie. And let me just quickly say this. If you're nervous about him as a passer, I get it. But guess what? We all, myself, Badake, my grandma, your grandma, our ancestors, everyone has Justin Fields as a first-round pick in Dynasty startup drafts right now.
That's right.
But if you go on Twitter and type up Justin Fields passing, you're going to see some people saying some very negative things, right? The rushing upside, the rushing floor gives him the ability to improve that part of his game as he grows in Indianapolis. But it's the perfect staff around him. I like it. All right, my second winner, and we're going to get to losers after we give these next two winners. Actually, let me go to my first loser. Let's do it that way.
Sure.
My first loser. Let's switch it up. Okay, so my first loser, and I hate to say this because I love this wide receiver prospect, but Zay Flowers
Zaza
is a loser. He's a loser after round one. I have to be honest and transparent. As much as I love him, I just can't ignore how bad this landing spot is. And if you don't agree, let me get into it. I also want to say Rashad Bateman. This is difficult to project with Rashad as well. So before the NFL draft, Zay Flowers I'm just looking at rookie rankings. He was my rookie wide receiver 2B. Okay, he was my 2B at that time. Now he is my rookie wide receiver 4. And even if you love him as a prospect like myself, I don't know the case for putting him ahead of Addison, Johnston, and JSN. I'm not sure what that case is anymore, but let's talk about it. And really the biggest point I have to bring here is this is not a big pie in Baltimore, okay? Right. Why did I love Zay Flowers to the Chargers? Let's talk about that for a second. I love Zay Flowers to the Chargers. Firstly, Justin Herbert. We don't need to talk about that. Secondly, and more importantly, that is a big pie in that passing offense to go around. Everybody gets to eat, especially now with Kellen Moore. If you look at the pass attempts per game last year, check this out for a sec. The Chargers, second in the NFL in pass attempts per game at 41.9. The Ravens, 28th in the NFL in pass attempts per game, not even reaching the 29 pass attempts per game mark. And if you look at that across the entire season, guys, the Chargers had 185 more passing attempts last year than the Ravens. That is so many targets that Zay has no chance of getting to, right? If you think about it last year, again, 28.9 pass attempts per game. Let's say new offensive coordinator, maybe it changes. There's weapons, so you should throw the ball more, right? What, is it 32 pass attempts per game? How high does it go up? You need to be realistic here. And what percentage of that pie is going to be Zay's? What is the upside here? What's the ceiling? Because it feels relatively tapped. Mark Andrews is your clear number one. OBJ didn't sign there for no reason. He has a connection with Lamar. Zay Flowers, where does he come in here? Where does Rashad Bateman come in? Who he himself was a first round talent and first round pick, out of the drafts. And what was their identity, which has been so successful for them for the past 5 years? It's establishing the run. In 2018, 2019, and 2020, 3 years in a row, they were first in rushing attempts per game. And they were very successful. In fact, in 2019, no one scored more points per game than the Baltimore Ravens. These last 2 years, they've been top 6 in rushing attempts per game. So Look, to be clear, I love Zay Flowers. You guys know this. I love Zay Flowers as a prospect. I mean, I see little T.Y. Hilton, little Steve Smith. I see it. I totally get it.
Little everything.
But it's not clear for me what the upside is. And OBJ could be gone next year. That's what people might say in the comments. But he could also be back. He could also have a good year maybe. And there's more questions, right? So at this moment, I will still draft Zay Flowers in the first round, the back end. But I'm not taking him over Addison. Okay. I'm not taking him over Quentin, and I'm not taking him over JSN. So I think he's it sucks so much. It was one pick. Oh, it was one pick off. Just had to be the pick before.
It was. It would have been one pick before. I think
he definitely was a loser for me.
Yeah, one pick before, or one pick after, would have changed the whole thing. But that's kind of the way the board fell. And I'll go to my losers here. My first loser, and I think Zach and I have been preaching this for weeks, I would say even months. I even brought him April 13th on my buy low, sell high video. Tyler Algier, he is probably the biggest. I've been
preaching this since like November.
Yeah, like November. It's been going on for a long time because we was like, okay, first of all, before I even get into it, I told you April 13th to trade him away. This like probably 2-3 weeks ago now. And I was getting roasted in the comments, even in the live stream, was saying there's no way the Falcons are going to be taking a running back in the first round. I was like, it's either going to be, Bijan Robinson to the Falcons or to the Bears, and clearly he goes to the Falcons here with the 9th pick. You got to be careful, man. You got to be careful. Look, in that video, he was my RB 31 at the time, and he was ranked RB 30. Currently, right now, as I have keep trade cut up, he's RB 35, so he's already fallen 5 spots since the draft. Okay, and he's going to continue to fall, and within hours. And we have a little spot in our document here that says my ranking now, and I put, can you really rank him? I don't know, like he's done to me.
I can tell you mine. 43.
Even lower, like who else? I mean,
I'm like Khalil Herbert, Kendre Miller, Chase Brown, Alvin Kamara, Isaiah Pacheco, Cam Akers.
I would rather have Cam. I would rather have, Alvin Kamara.
It's tough, man.
It's so tough. And the only way Tyler Algier kind of has some sort of revitalization in any way is if Bijan gets seriously injured. That's the only way. And I don't really see him.
Tough to bet on.
Exactly. And I don't really see him getting any more opportunity. I don't really see him even getting a 20-30% workload. I think it's completely done. And to be fair, and for some people, there are some respectful Tyler Algier owners, and there's some disrespectful Tyler Algier owners, or believers, excuse me. And it's just unfortunate. And it's like it's such like a bad way to say I told you so, but at the same time, like we've been really trying to warn you guys.
We've been preaching this, and we've been getting roasted for preaching.
Yeah, we're getting roasted for preaching. But anyways, Tyler Algier, he's dead, essentially. He's dead in the fantasy perspective. Still a great guy, still a great player. Just I'm not necessarily sure what he can bring for you now for your fantasy team unless Bijan Robinson gets injured.
Agreed. All right, on to my second winner. And Badake's. And we both have been telling you to sell Tyler Algier for a long time.
Yeah.
One of my biggest buys this entire offseason, you know this, Badake, has been Christian Watson. And I think Christian Watson is a low-key, not many people are talking about it, big winner after day one. He didn't really move in my rankings. He's wide receiver 18 before. He's still wide receiver 19 or 18 in Dynasty. Again, use our code in the description, LAND, on flockfantasy.com if you want to see our new rankings for all these players. But the talk before, and what I was seeing all over Twitter, which is why I think Twitter is such a dangerous space. It's so reactive. Right. But what I was seeing all over Twitter was sell Watson right now. You need to sell Christian Watson after the Aaron Rodgers trade. It's so clear that the Packers are going to take Jason. It's so clear they're going to take Zay or Dalton. There will be a weapon, and Christian Watson will take a back seat. As if that was just in stone, and we just should ignore the history of what the Packers have done in the first round.
Right.
The Packers went and take Lucas Van Ness, the most Packers pick you could ever make. And now Christian Watson is clearly the wide receiver 1 on this team in 2023. He probably would have been anyway. Jason and him would have probably been 1A, 1B between each other. They would have complemented each other really, really well. In fact, that's why I like JSN in Seattle. I think he and Metcalf, it makes so much sense to me how these two complement each other. I could have seen the same for Watson, but for real, there's no one on this depth chart that is going to be taking targets away from Christian Watson now. And we'll look at that depth chart in a second, but I see a very similar usage to what we saw the second half of 2022. If you look at, this little, these numbers that I put together for you, from weeks 10 to 18, we saw that breakout for Watson, 6.5 targets per game, 65 yards per game, a bunch of receiving touchdowns, wide receiver 9 in that span, and points per game, he was wide receiver 8. The snap percentage goes up drastically. He's probably looking at 90% snaps in 2023. And I would say that 6.5 is going to go up probably to about 7, maybe 7.2, 7.3 targets per game. Will it be as efficient with Jordan Love? Of course not, because he's not Aaron Rodgers. But what we lack in efficiency, we will gain in volume because he's clearly the guy there. I mean, again, look at this depth chart, guys. It's Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, and this is not a joke. Samori Toure is a starting wide receiver for this team and out of the slot.
Not a drill.
Okay. And could this be maybe Romeo Doubs as well as a winner? I mean, who else is on this team?
Definitely could.
I for a minute here think it's almost impossible that they don't draft a wide receiver or a tight end on day 2. And maybe you're watching this after day 2 and you were like, oh, they did or they didn't. But at pick 42, I would be shocked if that's not a wide receiver or a tight end, Badake. If that's not Josh Downs, Michael Mayer, Laporta, Musgrave, I think it will be one of those weapons. But the point is that there is not a scenario right now in which Christian Watson's wide receiver 1 status on this team will be in danger. It's not happening. There's not a wide receiver in the second round that's going to take that away from him. So I think he's a big winner.
Yeah, big winner, Christian Watson. I think it was crazy that they still didn't get a wide receiver in the first round. All right, my second winner, the guy that I've been getting torched on the whole off season, and that is my wide receiver 1, still till this day, and after the NFL draft, that is Quentin Johnston.
And you know what? Like I'll just actually back that up even more. You got a lot of hate in the comments.
Oh,
you got a lot of hate
100%
in the comments for having Quentin as your wide receiver 1. I still think you're wrong. But the landing spot is incredible.
The landing spot changes everyone's opinion now.
Exactly. We went live today. Everyone's with you now, bro. Yeah. Everyone's like, dude, yeah, I love him. I'm taking him.
100%. So look,
props to you.
He's always been my wide receiver 11. He's still my wide receiver 11 in a dynasty starter perspective, and I think this really solidifies it. When I was taking him early in the 3rd, 4th round in mock drafts, people were saying that is way too high. I think we're going to see him there comfortably as well coming up here very soon. And obviously, I would say out of all the wide receivers drafted in the first round, Quentin Johnston has one of the best quarterbacks to grow with in his career, right? And I think that is the main difference when you look at every single one of these wide receivers. I would say outside of Lamar Jackson, but because, Lamar Jackson, there's questions if he can produce a fantasy relevant wide receivers, but that's a different conversation. He lands with my QB5 and Justin Herbert. He lands with the Los Angeles Chargers, who now has Kellen Moore coming out of the Dallas Cowboys, which has been a power 5 offense in the past couple of years over there with the Dallas Cowboys, now coming to the Los Angeles Chargers. And I know you're saying, what's happening with Keenan Allen? When is that really going? Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, when is that really going to come to fruition with Quentin Johnston? And honestly, as I was doing this and kind of preparing, it can happen year 1. And you know why? It's because we've seen the injury history with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. This past year, combined with both of those guys, they both missed 11 games. In 11 games, Quentin Johnston can easily be a top 20 wide receiver if he gets a full 11 game. Maybe I'm a little bit too excited, right? But let's just say they did miss 11 games. Quentin Johnston could be not wide receiver 1 with wide receiver 1 targets, and then everyone's saying, hey, there's a conversation. But at the same time, even if all those guys do stay on the field, Keenan Allen in the slot, Mike Williams on the left, Quentin Johnston, right outside wide receiver. There's going to be weapons everywhere. Austin Eckler's there. Once again, this offense is changing. And not only that, there's been talks that Keenan Allen could be traded before this NFL draft, that Keenan Allen was going to get traded or cut, whatever the case may be. 2 aging wide receivers that are injury prone. Without a doubt, Quentin Johnston is my wide receiver 1. It still is my wide receiver 1. And shout out to all you guys that maybe kind of see him in a similar light now that he's going with Justin Herbert. It's all love. I accept your apology. and I'm excited. That's all I have to say.
I hear you.
I can't wait.
He's been my 2 throughout the process.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be honest. I still think JSN's my 1, and it's not close for me.
And that's fair. That's fair.
But I definitely respect where you're coming from, and I think it's a fantastic landing spot. And the fact that Justin Herbert is there helps a lot of your problems. I have him as my wide receiver 18 right now in Dynasty. So let's see if that changes throughout the process. But he definitely went up because he was like my wide receiver 25, 26.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was a perfect landing spot. You couldn't have thought of a better one.
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll end on a negative note here. My second loser is a player that I was advocating for you guys to buy for a long time. And that was tough. Even before he went to the Lions. Then he went to the Lions, and I loved the role that I envisioned him having. It made sense to me. The loser is David Montgomery. Why did it make sense? Because we just saw a worse version of David Montgomery break the franchise record for rushing touchdowns in Jamal Williams. They signed David Montgomery to a pretty decent contract for 3 years. They already had Swift. What reason would they draft a running back in the first round?
How many running backs? How many running backs we need?
Now we got 3 running backs, and the report was Swift is still involved. I saw a report that said, yeah, Swift's still a part of this.
Yeah.
How? How does this work?
Be careful.
Is Jahmyr Gibbs is a slot wide receiver now? I don't understand what's going on. Regardless, no matter how you look at this, this is not good for David Montgomery.
No.
This is not good. I think what everyone is hoping and wishing will happen is that DeAndre Swift is traded.
Exactly.
If that happens, I'll feel much better. He was my RB19 before the draft. He's right now my RB22 because if Swift moves, that's still a 3-year deal. As much as I love Gibbs, Monty's not going away. Like, he's still going to play a role.
Yeah.
So I don't really know where David Montgomery will fall. At the moment, he's my 22, but I can't see it getting much better than RB22 now that they just spent the 12th overall pick on Jahmyr Gibbs. Guys, think about this for a second, okay? The only running back in the NFL, the only starting running back in the NFL that had higher draft capital than Jahmyr Gibbs right now is Saquon Barkley. That is the only starting running back in the NFL that has higher draft capital.
Wild.
Jahmyr Gibbs was drafted higher than Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, Ken Walker, Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs, Najee Harris, Javonte Williams. All of your favorite dynasty running backs. It's crazy. It's wild. I don't understand, but here we are, and there's no nice way to say it. This doesn't look great for David Montgomery. And it makes the Lions look like, what are you doing? You took a linebacker at pick 18. No one thought you should do that.
No.
You took Jahmyr Gibbs at pick 12. What are we doing here? They passed on Gonzalez. You passed on good edge rushers. You passed on good defensive. You just trade away Okuda. What are we doing in Detroit? Anyway, Monty's got to be a loser if we're honest.
And just to close on your argument, and maybe, I don't know, this is how I'm feeling right now, and maybe we get a little bit more into detail in another video that's going to be coming out when you guys are watching this video. The upside right now feels capped. And I don't know how much higher Gibbs is going to go or be in a fantasy relevant scenario.
I think Monty specifically is capped, but go ahead on Gibbs.
I just think both is capped. So I think if I had to bring somebody, if I had a third bring, I would definitely say Gibbs for me. But at the same time, that can easily switch once Swift is out, like you were saying.
The historical context of the draft capital is what makes me continue to be all in on Gibbs. It's unheard of. It's unheard of him being drafted that high. Yeah,
definitely makes sense. All right, my last loser here, and I'm going to make this short and sweet because we're running out of time here. Will Levis, my QB4 coming out in this process. It didn't even get drafted day one, but there is still hope. But before I get into the hope, this was the biggest smoke screen we probably have ever seen in a minute, right? I mean, I think there were so many teams trying to say it's Will's, this is that. Or, Will Levis can go to the Titans. Will Levis can go to the Seahawks or to the Texans, and that wasn't the case, right? And there was 32 teams. And shout out to Zach, didn't have a first grade on Will Levis, and that is true right now, right? No 32 teams really believe that Will Levis was a first round draft pick, and that is clear. That is proof in black and on black and white, in ink, whatever the case may be. But the hope now is, how high is his ceiling now, right? And I know this is a loser take, but I think there is hope, because if in the second round one of the teams kind of sneaks up, maybe the Raiders takes him, maybe the Titans take him, maybe the Patriots or your Washington takes him, we can have a new conversation. But at this very moment, he was projected just to go in the first round. That didn't happen. That is massive in a fantasy perspective. I don't think he goes in a first round in a rookie draft. I think he falls maybe into like round 7, 8, 9, depending on the team in a dynasty startup. And I would even say that's a bit of a stretch at the moment. Like, I don't even know if I want to take Will Levis over Geno, over Jared Goff.
Definitely not. I was about to say he's my quarterback 32 right now.
It is wild how far he's dropped. And mind you, he's my QB4 in a rookie perspective still.
I want Howell. I want Purdy. I want Ritter.
Exactly.
I want Mack. I want Kirk. I want Carr, Rodgers, Russell Wilson. I want all those guys over Levis.
I'm out. But like I said, at the light at the end of the tunnel, if he does get early second round capital to the Raiders, to the Titans, to any of these teams that still can be in contention of a quarterback, we can have a new conversation. But right now, definitely one of the biggest losers in day one.
Yeah, I agree. And I just wanted to give a quick honorable mention at the end here that I think Lamar Jackson is also a huge winner, both in life and in fantasy. Not only does he get the biggest deal ever, right, for a quarterback, not guaranteed, but I think yearly, he also gets OBJ, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews is healthy, as well as Rashad Bateman. So he's also a big winner. But I think that's it. Let us know in the comments what you think. If you agree or disagree with our takes, that's fine. And like the video to show some support. Subscribe if you like Dynasty content. And listen to these guys if you want to dominate your Dynasty drafts. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, LAND, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.